When I was 14, my family took me on a fun day trip to the city. At a crowded outdoor market, my mom smiled, handed me $15, and said, "Go explore a bit. We'll be right here." I turned around for 10 seconds. When I looked back, they were gone. No call, no text, no search, just gone. I waited for hours. No one came. Not that night, not ever. After that, I stopped being someone's son. 8 years later, I did something that hit them harder than anything they could have met. My parents finally tracked me down through a court letter. This week, I got 46 missed calls. My brother sent voicemails like, "Please just tell us what you did. Dad's sick. He won't stop screaming your name." So, I'm just going to say up front, if this sounds fake or whatever, IDC, it happened, and it's been stuck in my head for years. So, I'm going to dump it here. If you don't believe me, that's chill. But, Neil, I wish I didn't have this story to tell. LOL. Anyway, I was 14, youngest in the family, 2 parents, Abby, and a brother, Jacob, 2 years older, golden boy, whatever. We weren't poor, exactly, but definitely not rich. My parents were always obsessed with not wasting money on dumb stuff. My dad used to get all tight about snacks and streaming apps, like it was some personal attack if I asked for a new hoodie or needed a phone upgrade. Jacob never got the same attitude. He'd get new shoes, game consoles, all that. I know, super original, right? But still, it just sets up the mood. So, start of summer break, Mom starts acting like she's suddenly interested in family time. Starts talking about this fun day trip to the city, like some surprise. Right away, it's weird, because we never do stuff like that. And Dad's just not the day trip type. The morning of, Mom's already nagging me about how I need to pack my own lunch, and she's double-checking my pockets for stupid stuff, her words. Dad's already in the car, not saying much. Jacob's on his phone, acting like he's too cool to even be there. Ick. The whole vibe is off, and I even snap at my mom when she tries to fix my hair or whatever. She just gives me this long look, like she's annoyed I exist. We drive to the city. It's like an hour, maybe more, and nobody really talks. I'm watching stuff out the window, listening to music, just trying to zone out. Dad gets all annoyed at traffic. Mom's scrolling through her phone, not even looking at the stuff we pass. We finally get to this outdoor market thing, super crowded, super loud, smells like fried stuff and sweat, and a million people shoving past each other. I'm honestly just glad to get out of the car. So, we walk around a bit. Mom's got this fake smile on, like she's trying out for some ad. And Dad's just staring at his phone. Jacob's making fun of some street performer, not even low-key. After maybe 15 minutes, Mom suddenly stops and turns to me. Says, not literally quoting, but you get it, I should go explore, have fun, here's some cash, we'll be right here. She hands me $15, which feels like a joke considering how much she freaks about money, and tells me to go check out the weird jewelry booths or whatever. She's all smiley, like she's trying to convince herself she's being fun. I'm not stupid. I know when I'm being pushed off, but I figure whatever, maybe they're just going to go look at some boring stuff. I turn around to check out this booth with old phone cases and keychains. Get distracted for maybe 10 seconds, tops. I look back, and they're gone. Like, not just moved down the aisle, just gone. I don't panic right away, just annoyed. So, I start walking around the corner, craning my neck. Nothing. I text my mom. No reply. I call straight to voicemail. Same with my dad. Try Jacob, who I know never picks up anyway. Again, nothing. I walk the whole market twice. I check the places we passed. I even go back to where the car was parked, hoping maybe they just got bored and went to the car. The car's gone. I stand there for a while, then start walking around again, kind of half expecting them to jump out and say it's a prank, which, TBH, would be a new low even for them. Nothing. I keep calling. I get a couple weird looks from people when I ask if they saw a couple with a tall kid, but nobody cares. One security guy tells me to stop loitering. I try to explain, but he just shrugs and tells me to wait by the Lost Kids booth, which is this tiny blue tent next to where food trucks are parked. I sit there, more annoyed than scared at first. I keep checking my phone. Battery's dying. Nobody's answering. It gets dark. One of the market volunteers keeps asking if I'm okay, but I'm a teenage guy, and honestly, I just keep saying, yeah, my parents are running late. I end up there until the market is basically packing up. The volunteer gets kind of pushy, wants to call the cops, but I tell him my parents will show up soon. I don't want to deal with IDK. It's stupid. But at that age, I just didn't want to make a scene. I keep thinking there's got to be some explanation, like maybe they just lost track of time or their phones died or something. Yeah, right. It's not until way after midnight, sitting on this cold bench outside the market, everyone gone, the street lights buzzing, that I get it. They're not coming back. Not that night. Not ever. I try their numbers again. Nothing. I try to log into my socials, but my phone finally dies. I remember just sitting there wishing I'd brought my charger. Like that was the biggest problem. I walk to the bus station, but I don't have enough for a ticket home. Plus, I don't even know if they'd be there if I did. I end up just wandering around looking for somewhere to sit. Not even tired, just numb. The next morning, I get some looks from people, but nobody asks anything. I use the last of the cash on a vending machine sandwich and bottle of water, then just walk. I hear a group of kids talking about their parents picking them up, and I almost laugh, because it's so normal. And I feel like I just stepped off a cliff. I start thinking about why they did it. And honestly, it's not a total shock. They always made it clear Jacob was the easy one. I was the one who needed extra attention. Mom used to say I was too much. Dad would get all red-faced if I got a C. But Jacob could bomb a test, and somehow it was the teacher's fault. It's like I was always the spare part. The worst part is when it clicks that they're gone. I'm not even surprised. Like, not really. I keep thinking back to stupid fights at home. Like when Mom yelled at me for making things hard, when I got sick and had to stay home from school, or when Dad slammed the door so hard the glass cracked because I forgot to take out the trash. Jacob used to shove me out of his room, say I was annoying, and Mom would just roll her eyes. It's not like I was some demon kid. I just wasn't him. He did sports. I played video games. He got invited to parties. I got told to help with chores. Whatever. So yeah, that's how it started, me sitting on a curb realizing I was basically deleted from my own family. No texts, no calls, nothing. I kept waiting for the apology, the "we messed up," the "come home." Nothing. Not that night, not the next day, not ever. After that, I stopped being anyone's son. I just became a problem that solved itself, I guess. I know this is long and messy and probably sounds over the top, but I'm just getting started. I didn't just move on or find a new family or whatever. Not that night, not the next day, not ever. After that, I stopped being anyone's son. I just became a problem that solved itself, I guess. I know this is long and messy and probably sounds over the top, but I'm just getting started. I didn't just move on or find a new family or whatever. I spent years thinking about what I'd do if I ever saw them again. Let's just say I didn't wait around for karma. They wanted things easy. I made sure they'd never forget what they did. I'll get into that in the next post. It gets wild. FR, Update 1, if you read the first part, yeah, I know it sounds wild, but it's not even the worst of it. NGL, I probably wouldn't believe it if it hadn't happened to me. Anyway, after that night at the market, like sitting there with my phone dead and my backpack under my head, I just kept thinking they'd show up the next day. Spoiler, they didn't. So, I started figuring out how to just exist on my own. I didn't have some movie moment where a nice old lady took me in or I stumbled into a community center that solved my life. I pretty much just drifted, stayed away from people, trusted nobody. I'd sit in the back corners of places, listen to people talk, try to pick up free Wi-Fi when I could. I'd see people my age with their parents, and I'd get this weird urge to just walk up and say, "Hey, you know how lucky you are." But I never did. It's not like anyone would want to hear it. I got by for a while just blending in, keeping my head down. I'd sometimes sleep in the waiting area at the bus station. You don't really sleep, more like close your eyes and hope nobody tries anything. One time, this guy tried to push me off a bench at like 3 a.m. Just shoved my legs off and took the spot. I shoved him back. He shoved me harder, and I just decided it wasn't worth getting jumped, so I left. People think kids are helpless, but honestly, you learn fast to defend your space or you end up with nothing. I didn't cry or anything. I just got mad. I was always mad. TBH, for food, I'd hit up the discount bins at the convenience store or, if I was lucky, catch the end of a food truck shift. Sometimes, if I stood in line long enough, the workers would give out old fries or whatever. It wasn't great, but I wasn't about to starve. I didn't talk to anyone unless I had to, and even then, I'd keep it short. Most people just ignored you anyway, unless you were in their way. I tried to find my parents online at the library, but all their socials were still up and nobody posted anything about me. No missing kids stuff, no posts, nothing. Like I just up and vanished. And honestly, it started to piss me off more than it hurt. I tried school for a while, but it's not like I could just walk back in. I went to the building and sat outside, but nobody recognized me, and I didn't have anything left that proved who I was. I watched Jacob's friends walk in and out, laughing and messing around like I never existed. I thought about sneaking inside, but honestly, what would I even do? I heard from someone in the crowd that Jacob was still killing it at track and my parents were at all his meets. So clearly, they were fine. I was just a problem that got deleted. The weird part is after a few weeks, I stopped thinking about home like a real thing. It was just this place that existed for other people. I kept waiting for someone to notice, but nobody did. I figured out how to get by, mostly. I'd trade small stuff, do dumb errands for change, nothing big. Sometimes people would look at me like, "Are you lost?" But mostly I just blended in. I figured if they wanted me gone, fine. I'll be gone. But I'll make it count. I met Emery at the shelter eventually. Not that we were friends or anything at first. He's the type who always has a plan, always running some hustle. He caught me stealing his spot in the laundry room and tried to shove me out. So, I shoved him back, and we almost got in a fight. But then we both realized it was dumb and just ignored each other. After a while, we started talking mostly about dumb stuff. Who had the worst food? Who could sleep through the noise? Whatever. He told me about how to get an ID when you turn 18. How if you keep your head down, nobody asks questions. Not like he was some streetwise hero. He just didn't trust anyone either. So, I waited. I counted the days, kept my stuff together. I'd see my parents' names come up sometimes on local news fundraisers, business stuff, stupid photos with Jacob and trophies. Never a word about me. I started making a list in my head of all the stuff they'd ever called me: burden, trouble, lazy, too much. I thought about that $15 my mom gave me and how she probably thought it was enough to get rid of me. I promised myself when I hit 18, I'd make them remember. When my birthday hit, Emery hooked me up with the info for an ID. Nothing fancy, just legit enough to not get hassled. I got a cheap phone prepaid, nothing special. I started checking in on my family online just to see if they'd cracked yet. Nope. Jacob was still the golden boy. My mom posting about how proud she was of him. My dad showing up at every event. I'd see group photos with cousins, everyone smiling. I guess I was just deleted for real. I'd screenshot stuff sometimes just so I'd never forget how easy it was for them. I started planning not some movie plan with fake accounts or hacking or whatever. I made a list of every person my parents did business with, every friend they bragged about, every time they showed off for the neighbors. I followed their socials, looked up who liked their posts, who commented, who shared stuff. I found out a lot of their friends didn't even know I existed. Like, straight up, my mom had erased every mention of me. I was a ghost, but I kept receipts. I wasn't going to just fade out and let them win. One time, I caught Jacob at a gas station with his friends. He didn't recognize me. I looked different by then, shaved my head, wore a hoodie, whatever. I watched him laugh and talk about how annoying his parents were, how they were on his case about his grades. I wanted to walk up and shove him, but I didn't. I just watched and walked away. I realized he probably didn't even care where I was gone. He always got what he wanted. My parents always said I was the reason things were hard. That Jacob would have had more if I wasn't around. I think that's why they did it. Honestly, less hassle, less drama, more resources for their favorite. I didn't forget. Every time I saw them online, I made a note. I waited for my shot. I started leaving comments from burner accounts, nothing too wild, just questions. Where's your other son? Whatever happened to your youngest? Usually, the comments got deleted, but I saw a couple people reply like, huh? What do you mean? My mom would block and delete, but I kept going. I started DMing people from fake accounts, just asking if they knew about me. Most people ignored it. A couple got mad, said I was trolling. I didn't care. I was just planting seeds. I started saving money little by little. I figured out how to do small gigs. Nothing illegal, just enough to get by. I kept my head down, didn't talk about my past. If people asked, I just said my family moved away or I was on my own. Nobody really pushed. People see a young guy alone and just figure it's not their problem. Emery used to say, "You want revenge? You got to wait for the right moment." I wasn't about to just throw a tantrum and get myself in trouble. I wanted them to feel it for real. After a while, I started hearing that my parents' business wasn't doing so hot. They lost a couple contracts. People started talking about how they were different now. I'd see it online, too, like little cracks in the perfect family pic. Jacob was posting less, parents arguing in comment sections. I knew I was getting to them, but it wasn't enough. I wanted them to feel what I felt, alone, forgotten, like they didn't matter. I started looking up ways to mess with their reputation. Certainly. Here is your script, carefully punctuated for clarity, flow, and readability. I've added paragraph breaks and punctuation where needed, but preserved your style and voice. Not illegal, just chaotic. Questions in the right inboxes, gently poking at their perfect image. Every time they tried to post some happy family thing, I'd be there, just out of frame, reminding them they weren't as perfect as they wanted to seem. I kept saving, kept watching, kept waiting. I didn't want to just fade out and become some lesson they could twist. I wanted to leave a mark. So, yeah, the years went by. I got older, got smarter, learned to keep my mouth shut and my eyes open. I didn't forgive. I didn't forget. I just planned. The day I turned 22, I finally got the chance I was waiting for. They were about to expand. Big project. Lots of money on the line. I knew exactly how to hit them where it hurt. I'll get into that next. It's not over. Not even close. Update 2. So, this is where stuff actually starts to get real. And, NGL, I feel like nobody ever talks about how slow revenge really is. It's not some Netflix plot where you just pull one lever and everything comes crashing down. It's like you've got to chip away, watch for cracks, wait for the right moment, or you're just yelling into the void. I kept my head down for literal years, just watching and waiting. And it honestly made me more pissed off every time I saw my parents pretending online like we were some family values crew. I started noticing weird stuff about their posts, like my mom always posting these long captions about support and loyalty, always tagging other parents. But if anyone ever commented anything even slightly off, she'd delete it. I tried once on a burner, just said something dumb like, "Hope both your sons are well," and it was gone in like 5 minutes. One of her friends DM'd me, asking if I was okay and if I needed help, and then blocked me. It's like everyone was trained to not see me. Honestly, it made it easier to work. I watched Jacob too, just to see if he ever grew a spine or, IDK, remembered he had a brother, but he was just doing the same old flexes. One night, I saw him arguing with my dad at a restaurant, like, actually shoving each other outside by the parking lot. Dad said something and Jacob just slapped the side mirror, and my dad shoved him back and slammed the car door. I stood far enough that they didn't see me, but I got the vibe that things weren't perfect anymore, so I started poking at the cracks myself. I made a list of everyone connected to their business, people who always liked their posts, people who showed up and tagged photos, even the local group admins my mom was always brown-nosing. I made a couple burner emails and started sending little messages like, "Hey, just a heads up. Heard there's some weird stuff going on with their business. Maybe check before you sign anything." Super vague. Nothing you could actually trace, but enough to make people start talking. I knew they were trying to get some loan for a new building because my mom posted a photo of a "coming soon" sign and tagged the bank. So I started dropping questions in the local Facebook group, just like, "Does anyone know if that's actually happening? Heard from someone that things are messy behind the scenes," and then I just leave it. People started DMing me, asking if I knew something specific or if I was just trolling, but I never answered. I watched a couple people start arguing in the comments. One guy said he'd heard my dad was in debt. Another said they'd had problems with payments last year. Honestly, it took on a life of its own. I didn't stop there. I started DMing a couple of Jacob's friends from different burners, asking if they ever wondered what happened to the other brother. Some of them ignored me, but one actually bit and started asking questions. I just said, "You should ask Jacob." Next day, Jacob's Insta was private. I laughed so hard at that angle. I started watching my parents' business pages, too. They'd post about events, but nobody was really interacting. I'd see them try to start new threads in the local group, but people just ignored them. I kept going, sending more emails, making up more concerns. I even mailed an anonymous letter to their bank, just saying I was a relative worried about their financial stability. Nothing illegal, just concerned. I heard later from someone at the shelter his aunt worked at the bank that their loan got delayed. One day, I saw my dad outside the house yelling at my mom, actually raising his voice and waving his phone around. She slapped his hand. He slammed the front door. The neighbor from across the street was out raking leaves and just stared at them. Didn't even pretend to look away. I realized, for once, they couldn't just delete the problem. I was the problem now. I made a point of calling their house from different numbers, just letting it ring once, then hanging up. Juvenile, maybe, but I wanted them to feel watched. I started sending little birthday cards in the mail, and signed, just to my brother, just with a note that said, "Hope you're doing well." Nothing else. He posted about it on his story, saying he had a freak fan. I was dying. I knew my parents weren't stupid, but they were proud and stubborn as hell. They'd rather die than admit they needed help and for sure would never admit what they did to me. So I just kept making things uncomfortable. I sent letters to a bunch of their business contacts. Nothing dramatic, just saying I was a relative and I had questions about the company's finances, if they were aware of unresolved family stuff. A couple people actually replied saying they didn't know what I was talking about, but I could tell they were spooked. More than one of the friends stopped showing up in photos. I started seeing little things fall apart. Their business pages stopped updating. Jacob deleted a bunch of his old posts. My mom ranted in a Facebook post about people who spread rumors out of jealousy. I couldn't help myself, I replied from a burner, "Some people just want the truth, I guess." She deleted it in like 2 minutes. Classic. I was just getting started, though. I'd saved up some cash, enough to make a real move. I filed to contest a piece of family property. Nothing huge, but enough to make them go through legal hoops and pay out for lawyers. I made sure to use my real name this time. There was no way they could ignore it. They got the letter and all hell broke loose. I heard from Emery he still kept tabs on stuff that my parents were freaking out, calling everyone, trying to figure out what to do. I got an email from my dad. Just one line, "Why are you doing this?" I ignored it. I wanted him to sweat. I wanted my mom to panic about her reputation. I wanted Jacob to finally realize he wasn't untouchable. I kept the pressure up, sending more messages, making more noise, never letting them know where I was or what I'd do next. It wasn't about money. It was about making sure they felt the same way I did. Like they couldn't trust anyone, like something was always about to go wrong. Like they might lose everything for no reason at all. The best part? I knew they couldn't just erase me. I wasn't a problem they could delete. I was the consequence they never thought would show up. Next part is where it all blows up. Trust me, I'm not letting them off. Final update. So, this is it. I kept thinking the fallout would feel like a movie ending or whatever, but honestly, it was mostly just messy and awkward and way more real than I expected. Even after all that time planning, I didn't really picture how weird it would be to finally see their names pop up on my phone again. Like, I'm talking 46 missed calls in a single week, all different times, numbers sometimes 2 minutes apart. Then it's my brother's voice, like legit panicking in the voicemails, begging to know what I did, asking if I'm coming back, then saying Dad's sick and Mom's losing it and just please can you call, please? I didn't reply, not once. The weirdest part was how fast the legal stuff made them unravel. I guess when you're used to controlling every story about your family, you don't expect someone you deleted to show up with a paper trail and signatures. They got served the inheritance contest and suddenly it was like I'd set off a fire alarm in their house. I started getting old relatives hitting me up, people I barely remember, like, "Hey, can we talk about this? Your mom's really upset." I left them on read. A couple blocked me after I didn't answer, and I laughed. Nobody cared when I disappeared, so nah, I'm not interested in the group chat now. I saw stuff online, too. Mom posted these freaky vague prayer requests. No details. Just, all my friends know what's happening. Please pray for us. My aunt commented once, said something like, you should have thought of that before, and Mom deleted it and then the whole post. Jacob went from posting gym selfies and party pics to nothing. 0 stories, locked account. My dad didn't have socials, but Emery said he was seen yelling in the driveway, slammed the car door, and neighbors just stood there pretending not to watch. I guess it finally hit them that if you burn your own house down, everyone sees the smoke. The first court date was a trip. Honestly, I thought about not showing, just to mess with them, but I wanted to see their faces. I walked in, my name called, and the room goes quiet. My mom actually stood up like she was going to run over, and the lawyer told her to sit. She sat hard, hands clenched. Dad looked straight through me, like if he didn't blink, I'd disappear again. Jacob glared at me, then at them, then at the table. I didn't say anything to them, just answered the lawyer's question, signed what I had to sign. Mom tried to whisper something to me at the break. I just walked past her. She reached for my arm. I moved away, and she slapped the wall behind me. Jacob muttered something, but I didn't catch it. Dad sat there, arms crossed, jaw locked, not moving. The whole process took months, tbh. Nothing quick. They had to pay fees, had to disclose stuff, had to see my name on every paper. I made sure every message went through the lawyer, never gave them my address, never let them talk to me alone. Every time I got a call, I let it ring out. A couple times, Jacob called from random numbers, tried to get around the block. Once he texted, said, Dad was in the hospital. Mom was freaking out. Why are you doing this? Just talk to us. I didn't answer. I wanted him to know there was no magic fix, no family meeting where I'd just forgive and forget. They made their choices. Now they could live with them. Stuff at their house got worse. Or so I heard. Grandma stopped talking to Mom. My aunt came over to yell one day, slammed the front door so loud the neighbor's dog started barking. Jacob actually shoved Dad in the hallway once, according to Emery's friend who lives down the street. Dad shoved him back. Mom screamed at both of them. Nobody called the cops. Nobody helped. I guess everyone just watched the show. I got my share. Not a fortune, but enough to know they couldn't just delete me. I made sure it was public record. Every time they tried to move something, by something, there I was, popping up in the paperwork. I bet they wish they just left me alone at the market instead of trying to erase me for good. Now, every time they have to explain a missing chunk of money, or why their son shows up in legal docs, they can remember that day. People ask if I feel better, like if I got closure. I don't really know what that's supposed to mean. It's not like a movie. There's no music cue, no big hug moment. I didn't want to make up. I wanted payback. I wanted them to feel what I felt. Like you don't matter. Like your whole life can change in one afternoon and nobody's coming for you. And I wanted everyone around them to see what kind of people they actually are. I still get calls sometimes, numbers I don't know, voicemails I delete without listening. I don't check their socials anymore. Don't care what excuse they come up with. I see Jacob sometimes in the city. He doesn't look at me. Just keeps walking. I don't plan on talking to him or anyone else. I'm not their problem anymore. I'm their consequence. If that sounds harsh, it's because it is. They didn't want a son, so now they get to deal with the fallout. Not sure what's next. Probably just keep doing my thing, living my life, moving forward. But I know they'll always be looking over their shoulders, wondering if I'll show up again. And that's honestly better than anything I could say to them. You don't get to rewrite history and walk away clean. No happy ending here. Just real life. And it's messy as hell.